Kayla, you just went through a $2.85 billion exit with Moveworks being acquired by ServiceNow, but there's been a crazy journey that's unfolded since then. What's been happening?
Yeah, well, if we go all the way back, obviously, to being in a role where I wasn't in sales, starting as like a personal trainer, as a lifeguard, it's crazy to look back on like 7 years ago to where I am today and where that journey's taken me. But from going a $2.85 billion exit recently and obviously going into our next chapter of tech sales launch is really exciting. But I think for all the folks listening here, it's an incredible industry to get into in the tech sales space. But what I want to highlight, a part of all this, is that you don't need to have the tech sales experience or a degree or be technical to get into the role. And I think what's really exciting is, you came from the army, I came from personal training background, and here we are today. Really, it's changed the trajectory of our life. We have over a $3 million portfolio in properties. We've just gone obviously through Moveworks with the acquisition, having quite a big payout with the equity side of things, and obviously with your shares vesting each year, it's really just changed everything in our life. But ultimately, how I really got into tech sales is from you. It really showcasing me what could be possible there. So I'd love to hear how you went from transitioning out of the army and that experience for you.
The old reverse card, so flipping me back question, I love it. Yeah, I think for me, probably similar to UK, like the upbringing that we've had similarly is like coming from humble beginnings, lower socioeconomic environments. I chose to join the army to make a better life for myself, and I feel like that was like a crossroads for me. Similar thing at the end of my army career, came to another crossroads and wanted more for myself. And working with peers, they gave me exposure into the IT industry. And then I sort of discovered randomly the tech sales career path, and I just never looked back from there. So I think getting exposure to what is out there and that there isn't a cap to it, and it's just so much more to offer. It's a global career. And it's just the crux of innovation as well and human endeavour, I think. A lot of startups coming out of Silicon Valley, a lot of expansion into the Australian region, into APAC. It just really drew me to what a career could be, and importantly, like what life I could make of myself back then. I think when we met, it was just like, wow, what is this tech sales thing? COVID hit at the time in the early days, and then there's probably like a famous story of lockdowns happening, and you were working at oOh!media or something in an operations role, and you were just like sort of caught in the rat race there.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy to me to think like you were born in Harvey and in WA, and I was in Pitttown in New South Wales. And, previous to sort of meeting you, I didn't know anyone that had earned over $100,000. I think tech sales, like what the hell is that? I don't think you get taught that in school at all. But really like the greatest minds and my experience working in tech, and once you really get into tech, a lot of companies fly you out to America, the UK, depending where their headquarters of a company is. And the exposure that happens outside of Australia has changed my mindset in terms of the people I've met and just how these innovative companies are really going. Like this, the way that they think is just like 10 steps ahead of any other industry in the world. But really for me, like when obviously I went from personal training, I did get my first sort of sales role in Penrith Panthers. However, I was capped there, right? So I was earning like $60K, and if I basically hit like my quota, I earned an extra like $5K, right? But unfortunately, like I got fired from there from doing a little bit of a startup on the side. And that was a chaotic year in the transition before tech, because I was working around 5 different jobs and I'd taken a step back, now earning $55,000 a year. And thankfully I was introduced to someone that had made over $600,000 in 1 year in tech sales. And as I mentioned, didn't know anyone that earned over $100,000. And it absolutely blew my mind when he showed me his financial statements for that year. And then I went through obviously my own journey of like applying for 20 different roles and going through interview preps and things like that. But was really fortunate enough to land a role at Splunk, which was like a tier 1 company, cybersecurity as well. And so that sort of set me up for success. I started at a different entry point than you. I think we have 2 really unique paths of when we started, because I started when I was 22 and I started more of an entry-level role as a sales development representative. And then really after that 12 months, I was ready to take the next step into an account executive role. And I found a opportunity at Moveworks where I was the first founding account executive for the APAC region. And that experience has been life-changing, because not only did I obviously be an account executive where you're responsible for closing deals, being the only person in region, I had to do almost setting my own meetings, closing, going on site to these large ANZ Bank, Commonwealth Bank by myself, and presenting, and with my solutions engineer, of course, presenting on site, right? And for someone like 23, 24, it was I had a lot of imposter syndrome at the time, but you sort of go through that and navigate those things. And once obviously I sold a deal, I was then sort of managing that customer success side of things too. But really the opportunity when our CEO even would fly out to Australia was incredible and life-changing for myself. But throughout those years, I obviously had kind of started at around 160K, and each year I'd progress. And my last year I was earning over 500K at MoveWorks, and then we just recently had the acquisition of $2.85 billion by ServiceNow. So that whole experience for me was incredible. But I think the point here as well is you can earn great money, but if you don't do anything with that money as well, you might not get ahead. And I think we were always really responsive with the income that we were making, and was able to leverage that time there as well, which has really been able to launch us in to go actually like more deeper into the tech space. We've always been super fascinated by actually the tech landscape as a whole. And I think that really drives from your fascination from cyber with the army as well.
Yeah, totally. I think you also forgot to mention the exit also gave you like a few $100,000 payout, right? The magic of the equity in the tech company, which is also a big driver for the career in tech sales, which is phenomenal. Yeah, and like my journey coming out of army, it's like I had to really look at myself and work out what skills were transferable, because a lot of the hiring market just really didn't know what to do with military people, and that's still a pretty common issue. And thankfully we work with a lot of ex-military people today, because there's a lot of great skill sets and capabilities that come out of defence and that environment and into the corporate domain and into tech for sure, and particularly in the case of cyber. So coming out of 7 years in the army, I was earning about 110, 120K per year, and I made a move actually as a commercial AE in my first role in the first year at SAP, which is like a big global ERP software vendor. It's been around for decades and it's a big tier 1 logo. And then had a really good, I had a bit of an interesting transition out of army, because it was a big culture shock for me, just getting to learn corporate domain as very big, bureaucratic, established vendors. But I had a really great time, and it was the formation of like my professional network in tech. Then I was really grateful to have an opportunity to move into NextGen, which is actually a software distributor in the ANZ region, APAC region. And I remember that the CEO was also an ex-army officer, and he was specifically looking for someone of a similar background to come in and build his cyber practice. And it was just an amazing timing and opportunity for me to come in and actually build that cyber practice from the ground up, really. As employee number one, got a technical director on board, Ben Sullivan, still like our bestie today, and then built a team up to about 25 people, and over about 3.5, nearly 4 years there. Grew the revenues from under $4 million to $100 million top line revenue. So it was just like amazing scale. And I think it was a big opportunity where there was like a lot of hyper growth cybersecurity vendors coming out of Silicon Valley, and in particular out of Israel, where a lot of the best cybersecurity companies come from. There's a lot of really big names like Wiz and lots of others that have been in the headlines even recently with like a $30 billion acquisition by Google. So just like the size and scale and the innovation in Israel for cyber is next level. But working with about 25 different cybersecurity vendors and bringing them into the APAC market, and that just gave me this accelerated learning curve. I would say of like maybe 10 decades of experience I was able to move into about 3 or 4 years, just because of the vantage point that I was able to ascertain from that position in the market, working in the channel with partners and distributors across the vendor and the customer ecosystem is just a really unique lens. And then ended up making a move into Palo Alto Networks.
Yeah, just on that before you move into Palo Alto Networks, like I just want to double click on like when you're in the army, you're a captain, right? And like you had troops obviously managing, sort of you're looking after. And then obviously with NextGen, you had around the 24 folks rolling up to you, right? So your expertise in terms of leading people, the go-to-market strategy, I would love to understand like the culture that you even built around that and what's possible in tech from a culture perspective, potentially from these other industries as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, culture for me has always been at the heart of it. And as a leader, whether it's in the army or at NextGen, just like you can really build a phenomenal business by getting the right people on the bus and having an amazing culture where everyone's really just has strong relationships really to get those commercial outcomes. So our hiring strategy and our whole go-to-market strategy at NextGen was very unique in the market. Firstly, from a business strategy perspective, we wanted to partner with vendors that were more in the startup scale-up phase and not compete with our other distribution partners, distributors in the market, and that really set us apart in terms of that profile. But the next really big thing, and probably actually the first major thing, was choosing the right people. So we hired a lot of veterans, got ex-military members on board, and we looked for different profiles of people. And I think even in the market generally, looking for that psychometric profile and that uniqueness of the person first and foremost is really what sets businesses apart. So that's always been like a core philosophy for me, like in leadership and hiring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remembered like the team culture every time coming in to visit in the office and everything. And you obviously recently did a few public speaking, even keynotes for even folks at other tech companies now since they've moved on. How's your experience been, obviously going from like the channel now into Palo Alto Networks?
Yeah, it's been great. Like I made a move into really arguably the biggest cybersecurity vendor in the world. It's like a $10 billion per year company, globally listed on the stock exchange, S&P 500 company, leading cybersecurity vendor, and it's just like really big tier one company. So been really interesting in the role. First moved into like a lateral channel position, and then in the last few years I've been in a sales role, a leading go-to-market across the Asia Pacific and Japan region for Unit 42, which is quite a specialist practice and line of business where we're responsible for helping organisations that are really the top 200 organisations in the APJ region that are looking to become more cyber resilient, and we help them through different ways, whether that's risk management, platform security transformation, incident response, or threat intelligence. And it's just a very interesting domain. So back to your point, a lot of military members coming into cyber, there's a sweet spot there because you sort of understand that defensive mindset, attacker versus defender, and also that domain of sort of fifth domain when it comes to commercial digital lens, as well as protecting businesses. And then just had a great ride also moving from next gen into Palo, and now we're sort of up to the next frontier now.
Totally. I think what we're doing with a lot of our clients as well at the moment is very much like even helping them understand the landscape of really which industry to even get into. Because obviously if you look at like almost the tech industry, there's like the vendor at the top, then you have like the channel ecosystem, and then the customers at the bottom. And so it's really interesting to understand like your personality traits, even if you like to be within like less hand-holding, more chaos, you maybe like startup, scale up, or if you like more of that structured process, maybe that could be more of a hyper growth tier one type larger company. And it's really important that you profile yourself appropriately to these tech companies. And you know, if you look at the industry at 5 different layers, there's obviously like the infrastructure layer, then you have like, you know, the SaaS layer, and it just continues to go. And so which actually vertical of tech are you getting into? I think it's quite interesting that obviously I fell into like the AI space, you love the cyber, so we always have that debate. But it's been a fun journey helping other people find out what they're passionate about as well.
Yeah, and probably similar to both of our journey, we've come in, like I pivoted into tech sales really from an existing career, and it's possible. Channel is a great opportunity to do so, but then just really maximising, growing a career from there is also a great strategy. We talk about those AE, BDM roles, channel roles too. And you mentioned before, like, how do you use a career, and particularly such a high-paying career? I don't know any other industry where you can get paid so much, particularly when you have the sales lens and tech. It's just like tech sales is just incredible. So for people that really have the drive in them to make a move into this industry, the world's your oyster. And I think we've directly had that impact on us. So it's just also interesting now working with people through Tech Sales Launch. People from all sorts of backgrounds now are just like, wow, I've hit a ceiling. I don't know what else I can do. I have all these other financial, personal goals, and I want to make more for my life. And it's great to be able to support them like that.
No, totally. I even think about if we think of Alex, one of our clients. We started working with her, and within 2 weeks, she actually had 2 job offers on the table, right? Obviously helping her as well with like the $30K negotiation on top of that. But Alex was a professional nanny, like no
Wild.
sales background, landed a role in 2 weeks. And, you know, it's not for the faint-hearted as well. Like the people that want to commit to Tech Sales Launch, like you have to be committed to obviously going all in. You're changing careers. It's a big lifestyle change, but it was absolutely life-changing for Alex. If we think of someone else, like we had Matty Lansdowne a couple of weeks ago, obviously running a really successful business himself, but more B2C lens in the personal training health space. And for someone that has never been in tech before, we literally landed him a $200K package out of the gate within cyber.
Yeah, I love the diverse backgrounds, and it shows what's possible. I think the thing that sets those people apart that we're working with is they really put in what they get out, and they have the drive, and they're really coachable, and they can see the opportunity too. So it's, like you say, not for the faint-hearted. other stories that I love is like Alex. You know, he was working in the high ticket space. He was earning 70, 80, 90K a year, kept hitting a ceiling when it got promoted sort of thing. And then it was just like, there's no real future for significant growth from here. And he made a move in as an SDR role. Unfortunately for like a tier 5 company like we would describe, and it didn't work out. And he came to us and got our support.
Yeah, and I think like even in that story, and you know, I know appreciate it's different for like Australia, America, and different countries, but like Alex was completely ready to start investing in property.
Yeah.
And like being in the high ticket space, like the banks wouldn't even lend him money because it was so inconsistent cash, right? So he got into tech, and I think that's a really great story as well. And he obviously was about to have a kid, and he wanted to be more stable, and ultimately at the end of the day though, like earn more money in the future as well.
Totally. And just to quantify it, went from 80K and worked with us, got an SDR, was targeting SDR BDM type roles, and he ended up getting 3 offers on the table in terms of total package OTE. So 80K for an SDR, he got a 130K offer for a BDM, and then he got a 180K offer for an AE role. And guess which one he took? He's about to start, so super exciting for him.
No, totally. I think a lot of people from the high ticket space, like we have a lot of all different ranges of ages, of course, and I think it's really exciting when I'm obviously on the calls with them, just understanding how they're currently feeling. I think they want to be around people that like they want to be around the innovative stuff. They actually want to be learning from other people because they feel like they're not like by themselves stuck in their room. I think it's kind of gone of like the COVID days completely at the start. People are wanting to venture back in. People are wanting to grow and learn. And, you know, when we talk to these people and, you know, because most tech companies within the first 2 weeks of joining them, you know, they're flying you out to America or the US, and everyone's just like so pumped
Mind
about
blown.
it, which is really cool. But like, what about Lee as well? We just recently had Lee, you know, 45, a mum of 2, working in medical sales, around 200K a year. And then we just landed her a 360K package out of the gate. Like, that's a fully remote role. She's now not having to work on weekends in hospitals, etc. And that's completely life-changing. I think obviously you can come in with no sales experience and we can help land that role. But if you also do have any sort of sales background from any other industry, real estate, high ticket, medical sales, etc., you are going to be obviously that one step ahead to be able to land a larger package than probably what you're on now.
And not to mention the people already working in tech sales. More and more of those people are working with us. So we have Santi in Spain. He's just about to double his income with an offer that he recently got working for a leading API platform. There's another gentleman that works at Atlassian. He's looking to go from really a junior AE role into that next level of his career and really be more strategic, close bigger deals, get into the enterprise and actually level up his own sales skill sets. And even another one, Felix, is a founding AE really in a cyber startup.
Yeah.
These are big.
And I think my passion is absolutely helping people that are, because at the end of the day, like you could be at a smaller tech company that doesn't actually have a lot of these processes in place, right, for people to, it's not to succeed, but there's a lot of like weight on your shoulders to like go and do all the things around marketing. How can you be more creative with getting leads, doing these events, how can you get sharper and closing deals faster? And that's definitely like the people obviously love working with everyone, but you know, helping them really build out that practice for themselves is something I get really excited about, helping other account executives get promoted in their current roles.
And really significantly grow their income and their career and be able to put that money towards wealth generating assets and have a great life at the end of the day.
Well, tell us a bit about what you're seeing currently in the market, or what's your perspective on the future of sales?
Wow, big question. Well, at the moment, what is it? April 2026, and every company stock price is completely down, so not good for the share portfolio, but probably a good time to buy. Not financial advice, but I think that talks to the disruption of AI. Of course, AI is completely transforming the model of modern working, and that's really applying across tech companies being hit a lot, mostly in the engineering function, actually, quite interestingly. And we're calling out at the moment, even the biggest AI companies in the world are actually hiring more and more salespeople, which is a really interesting dynamic, because I think there can be a lot of hype, FUD, hyperbole about will AI take my job. I think there's been a lot of technological waves that have really transformed people's lives and what the nature of work is, from the industrial or agricultural era into the industrial era and into the more modern information age now that we live through. And it's just really another evolution to that by the same token. So I think big macro picture thinking is for sure AI is at the heart of it, but what that actually means is fundamentally work is changing. And as that applies to the role of sales, and in particular tech sales, it just means that there's more demand ever for salespeople, and these big Silicon Valley billion-dollar tech companies need the best salespeople. So if you can really level up your own skill sets in sales, but even become a sales professional that knows how to leverage AI and really augment your own capabilities, I think that's where people win.
Yeah, totally. I think what we're teaching through Tech Sales Launch too, it's just like, how can you be the best AI native sales rep, right? So a lot of companies are obviously, I think, we were listening to a podcast of the Box CEO talk about AI is not taking people's jobs. It's just inserting humans into different areas where you'd start the job, right? And so I think that's really important of the old way versus the new way. It is changing and we have to be fine with ambiguity in how we're now currently doing work. But I think just at the moment where SaaS sort of is, it's big shift going on with obviously cost per seat versus consumption model, and everything is going to start I think shaping out in the next couple months. But I think more than ever we can see more and more tech companies are only just starting, and so we have people always reaching out for, and especially like women in tech. Like I just recently had Databricks reach out and they've invited us to an event around women in tech, and they want to keep doing more and more of that because there's a shortage of obviously women in tech too. So we're there to obviously wanting to push that as well, and it's such a great industry for people to get into. Like we talk about Lee, women of two, but the flexibility there is absolutely there for them now with the hybrid remote work as well.
Yeah, I love it. Any other big tech trends you're seeing, Kay?
I think just like the change of pricing is a huge one.
Yeah.
And then of course like just little things in your day to day, like sometimes I had my boss say like no more decks created because like we want all the data in here and just go ask Claude. So it's more of like how can the speed of the rep not be doing mundane tasks. And we had even a friend of ours just get a job at Anthropic, and they actually hired them wanting to be more human first, be on site with the customers more. And so I see a really big trend pushing back to that more. However, I see the other debate of like more and more companies going remote because then they want all the transcripts and AI to be able to like create, like have all the information there, right? Because the companies that have the most data and information to be able to bring into a Claude, a ChatGPT, these large language models are also going to be more valuable. But I think the push for more human first is even going to be more important than ever.
Yeah, it's a really good observation. I think the only other one that's really interesting to us at the moment is like the profiles of these new AI hypergrowth startups, just really breaking the mold in terms of valuations and company growth. Like 11 Labs, we've been really rabbit holing recently, and I think they were describing how they had a team of 2 people in the sales team, which were AI native, and they hit their full year financial projection within 2 months. And so these companies are just growing at an unprecedented speed, and it just, again, shows a confluence of all these big trends we're talking about, where the growth is. And I think, again, back to the individual looking to get into tech sales or level up their career in tech sales, it just speaks to the opportunity. There's so much out there to learn, to grow within, to earn, and I think that's just a really exciting space to be.
No, absolutely. I think tech pulls like definitely the most greatest minds and the smartest people, and it is for people that want to get into and continuously learn. I think what's really exciting, obviously a lot of these tech companies, they have so much funding by these VCs, whether they're in Series A, B, or C, and whether it's 100 mil to 300 mil, and they're constantly using the latest and greatest technology. And I'm always telling people like run towards tech than run away from it right now. Why not get into a tech company with using the best tech? They also spend a lot of money on training up their sales reps and enabling them on the product as well, so you can be successful.
Yeah, love it. I just want to highlight the packages around tech sales roles too, Kay. Do you mind describing what typically would look like a career but also like an OTE offer for someone? There's usually like a base, there's benefits, commission, uncapped, whichever, maybe the model of the company. But I think that's important to mention too, because a lot of people are looking for a future-proof career with more security, personal motivations as well, maybe starting a family, wanting to build more assets, whatever it is. But I think that the nuance with like the packages and the OTE is really important to highlight.
Yeah, well, I would start with how much are you like the first question always is like how much are you willing to invest in the first year or two to have the potential now to earn over 500K a year. So it's always keeping that into perspective. If you work really hard, you can achieve this. We had Ryan on our podcast working at SAP, been there for 10 years, earned over $1 million for the past 6 years, been to President's Club, and all this is possible, and we see it time and time again. However, when you sort of enter into the sales development or a business development representative, this is typically like your entry-level role. It's where I started, and I made 6 figures that first year, right? So, just over 100K. And then really from there, you get promoted into like an account executive role. There's usually like different tiers to that, being like commercial, mid-market, enterprise, strategic. It's quite a linear path in like how you want to get promoted or earn more money, obviously working on bigger deals. But I think it's really how they compensate as well in each company. But most of these roles, like once you go to a commercial AE role, you're usually on like a 200 to 250K package. And then it really just like continues 350, 450, 550. But it's typically like a 50% of that is base, 50% is like comms if you hit your quota. But of course, we're all in sales to like 100% should be the baseline we're hitting. And that's really where it goes into accelerators to be able to earn like double what you could possibly make. So that's what's really exciting. And then obviously the added bonus of the equity and shares. If you're in a public company, usually shares vest over 4 years. And so every year that you stay there, more shares vest. And then obviously you take the risk of starting a more startup scale up, them not going public or IPOing or getting acquired yet. But then obviously the payoffs there as well after a couple years. So that's sort of like a typical career trajectory that it could look like from an income perspective. Now, of course, that's like a very linear sales role. There's obviously many others like account manager, customer success, business development manager. So many other pockets of sales you can get into without taking probably the brunt of being like I like to say, the account executive is the quarterback of the deal. They have to manage all the stakeholders. They take the biggest risk because they have the highest quota. However, you can enter in a bit of a different sales motion than not entering there as well.
Not to forget the perks about flying to SCO every year and being around
like
peers.
Healthcare is usually paid for.
Yeah.
Your phone bill, internet bill, like these little things do add up. And I think, when you're in these tech companies, right, they're wanting to go win the market. So, little things like they're not stingy on like taking clients out if that's the sort of thing you like, traveling, meeting people on site. Like I was able to go to Singapore, India, Queenstown, New Zealand, like America, all these countries just to meet customer and clients as well.
Amazing. And what's next for Tech Sales Launch?
Yeah, so obviously we have 40 people through the program at the moment and everyone's going really well. People are landing roles as quick as 2 weeks, on average more so like 4 to 6 weeks if you're going for more of an account executive role. But we're really transforming people's lives and obviously then helping them through their career after they've landed their role as well. And we're really only just touching the surface of what we're about to do.
A couple of months in, just getting started and big things to come. So
yeah, absolutely. It's been lovely to obviously dive into this with you, Gabe. Is there anything that you'd like to round this out with?
No, I think that's very excited for what's coming next. And it's been awesome to build a community around the tech sales career. And at the heart of it, the community has been just like amazing. And it's just, it's great to see the transformation that is happening in people's individual lives. So excited to see what the next chapter is.
Yeah, it's like really we're here to help people get their first job in tech sales or people that could be potentially already struggling in their role. Myself and Gabe have a lot of expertise in both our 7+ years in tech sales, and we're really looking to help perform and get people promoted, close bigger deals, and really set themselves up for success as well. So yeah, look forward to the next conversation.